YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with another NFL offseason plan video, and this one's for my team, actually, the Minnesota Vikings, playing GM, going through the whole offseason, whether it's cuts, free agency, 7-round NFL mock draft at the end, doing this video for every single NFL team, going in draft order, so a lot of the teams already on the channel, plenty more NFL coverage daily. We have two channels, a newer channel, the Goat House Plus. We're going to need your help by subscribing to that, as well as this channel, trying to get the subscribers to match there. You'll find a link down below, and you'll find the link for our Twitter and Instagram as well down there. Please follow those daily posts, always answering questions, talking football on that Twitter. Those are must follows. And then something new, we actually have a podcast now, only one episode out. As of recording this video, we're only up on Spotify, but it's being reviewed for Apple Podcasts, so that it should be up in no time there. So check it out. More of that to come. Really enjoyed this. And then if you go to our Patreon, which you'll see a link in the description, you can see all the podcasts in video form when they go up. So pretty cool. Check all that out. There's all kinds of links in the description and the comments for everything there. But first thing I like to do, kind of break down the depth of each team. Guys in red are going to be free agents, so quite a bit of free agents actually for the Vikings. But let's start at the top. Receivers interesting because everyone automatically assumes, they got Thielen and they got let me clear one thing up. I don't think Stephon Diggs gets traded. I'd be surprised if he does. I think he just likes to troll. It's just Diggs being Diggs. So, I won't say 0% chance, but it's pretty close to that. I think he's on the team. But everyone always sees Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, maybe the best duo in football. You can argue that, based off last year, some other, look at what the Bucs did. Maybe I could argue that, but that's really all they got. They are really struggling. Bissy Johnson, pretty solid for a 7th-round rookie. But really, if you were watching towards the end of the season, the stretch of the season, they got Alexander Hollins trying to make big plays. Like, they're going to him on big plays. They desperately need somebody else. There's so many teams that just double up really both these guys or double up Diggs, put their best corner on Thielen, and then it's just pretty much just stop the run. They need another receiver badly, in my opinion. That's something that goes unnoticed. That's underrated, I guess. Looking at the offensive line, they started the year off pretty strong. When they played good pass rushers, they really struggled. The bad part of the line is the left side. Left tackle, left guard. Could be looking to replace those guys. Drew Samaya, they drafted last year. That could be a sneaky guy to step up. They do really like Pat Elflein, though. They're kind of insisting on him. Bradbury's going to be better in pass protection, was very good in run blocking. The right side we can deal with, obviously. Udo, the late-round rookie last year, played against the Bears at the end of the season. He actually looked pretty solid, so they're going to be good at the right side. And then they're set on tight end. They got plenty of them. And then quarterback situation, obviously you keep rolling with Kirk Cousins. The future is going to be interesting, but there's really nowhere else where you can get better, obviously. And then heard rumors about Dalvin Cook possibly wanting an extension. I hope that's not true. He's a very good running back. He's got elite traits, but he's got to stay healthy. So with him in there, obviously, if there's no sit out, which I'm not buying any of that, then the running back room is great. Defense took a step down last year, really picked it up at the end of the year. The problem was interior pressure and cornerback play. So those are the spots we'll look to fix. Obviously, there is some free agents elsewhere. We'll break that all down. But on to the cuts, which was very tough as a Vikings fan here. We'll start at the top. Cutting Riley Reif wasn't that tough. $8.8 million. They can definitely get better at left tackle, but it is very hard to find decent left tackles. Very hard. The Vikings are a good example of why, proof of why it's so hard. And then before we got started, actually $800K in cap space. So they're in the positive after they voided Everson Griffin, or he voided the contract there, the option, I should say. We cut Riley Reif, Xavier Rhodes, and that one hurts a little bit because he once was an elite corner for a small, period of time there, and then really fell apart this year. I think some injuries last year kind of caught up with him, really slowed down, just not the player he used to be. Cut him. Save $8.1 million in cap space. I think the cornerback position changed too. It used to be kind of the physical guys that were the best in football, and example would be Rhodes. And now it's just with these going against these offenses, it's just like the fastest guys out there seem to be the better ones for the most part. And this one really hurts. Linval Joseph, big goon. I think you pretty much have to cut him. It's tough because he's still a good player. Maybe a fan favorite on the defense, playing nose tackle, could slide around. But why? Because they're limited on cap space. And you see $10.5 million there is a lot of money. The thing about him, he keeps getting hurt every year, and he'll have like surgeries, but then he'll miss only a game or two, and he'll still play because the guy's an animal. But and you got to respect that. But at the same time, yeah, he keeps kind of, as he's getting older here, the injuries start to come up. And the interior pressure that he provides it used to be great. It's really not there anymore. He's pretty much just a run stuffer, and that's it. Which if you take him out, then you may struggle to stop the run. But it was interesting that he was out in that Cowboys game, and that was maybe their best game stopping the run. I think kind of a coincidence, but still that was interesting to me. Tough to see him go, but with $10.5 million on the line here, I do it. I bump it up to just over $28 million. You do have a lot of free agents. They very well could franchise tag Anthony Harris. I'm not a fan of the franchise tag. I'd like to sign him long term, but if they franchise tag him, I understand it could make sense. It really mainly could make sense because you don't really want him to test the market. Because somebody will pay him something ridiculous. So really, I mean, we can go either way here. Franchise tag him wouldn't be the worst idea there. C.J. Ham, I thought, was one of the better fullbacks in football. I mean, every time you see him leading the way for Dalvin Cook is crucial to get him back. Shouldn't be too expensive. Another one that shouldn't be too expensive is their nickel corner, Mackenzie Alexander. If he's healthy, I think he's a very solid nickel corner. But yeah, shouldn't be too expensive. I mean, it's tough leaving some guys off here. Some guys that we may have to let walk. Trey Waynes has been their best corner. I think he's been a solid corner, really. Very good in coming up and stopping the run when you need him to. But I think it's just time. They're going to get younger. It's time to move on to the outside corner position. With this, look here, Mackenzie Alexander slot. I think Mike Hughes potentially could play in the slot, but I think he could be going in, playing the outside, and possibly Holton Hill, stepping up there too on the outside. But obviously they're going to need to gain somebody else, or at least somebody else here. So letting some other guys walk. Everson Griffin, I would like to have him back because as a fan, he's Everson Griffin, and he could still get after the quarterback. His run stopping ability, him in the run game, had actually declined big time last year. For what he's going to cost, Odenigbo, a backup, I thought was actually more productive compared, in terms of how much he played. So it could be because of the cap space situation, it could be time to move on from Everson Griffin here and save some cap, but that's a tough one. They very well could bring him back, hopefully, on the cheaper side, unless he wants to go elsewhere for money. We'll see. Major signings, obviously, with limited cap, there's not going to be they didn't spend a whole bunch on re-signing, just really Anthony Harris, but not going to be too many big ones here. Quinton Jefferson, I really like for the Vikings. Because, it's one of those D linemen. They always like the D linemen. They can kind of move around a bit, and Quinton Jefferson, they did exactly that. He was crucial for the Seahawks last year. Really won't show up too much on his stats, but moving around, he played 3 technique, played nose tackle. I mean, all of which the Vikings could use. That they could move him around a bit. I think that'd be pretty appealing. Darryl Worley, a younger corner that could be part of the rotation, will be on the cheaper side. He has his moments where he's like, okay, this guy's going to be special. He's still young, and then he has his moments where, some things need to be worked on. But go to Zimmer here in Minnesota, a young corner that still has potential. And Taylor Gabriel, who was just caught by the Chicago Bears. Like I said, the Vikings could be in the market, a third receiver. I really like the fit of Gabriel as their third receiver, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were interested themselves here in a guy like that. So not too expensive here. Whoever gets Jefferson, I think. Depending on the price, but I have a feeling he's not going to – I feel like he's going to be cheaper than what I actually would pay for him. I really like his game, so that could help them in there. I would look out for their rookie last year, actually, Armon Watts from Arkansas, to actually could play nose tackle for them. He was actually looking pretty good towards the end of the season before he got hurt. So that's something to look out for, but they definitely could use somebody else in there too. They need interior. They need pressure from the interior. They need that pretty bad. And then we go on to the mock draft, and you see I didn't go for that left tackle in free agency after cutting a Reef, and it's a risk, but I went for it, and Josh Jones was on the board at 25. That would be the ideal pick there. But somebody I really, really like that I think fits, you do get Quinton Jefferson, but Ross Blacklock from TCU, I would really love him in the Vikings system there. So that's a guy to keep an eye out for there with the 25th pick. But Josh Jones, plug and play left tackle, and they get better at that position. Need another corner on the outside, maybe that true number one. That They could like a guy like Gladney from TCU. You know, a couple TCU guys actually could fit Zimmer's defense. And then Trevon Diggs they could like as well. But, you know, maybe, you know, to me, the value of the cornerback position went down. Maybe they're starting to see it. They've spent so many first-round picks on corners, you know, kind of wait a little bit. And Jalen Johnson could be that number one corner for them, and you could still get him at pick 58. And then there you get another defensive lineman. You know, at this point, they got a long list of defensive linemen, but they still need to get better. You know, when we let Linval Joseph go, you know, you got some young guys in there, but you still need to get better. You know, I think a guy like Lawrence with Quinton Jefferson really could be that starting duo, and then when you really need that true nose tackle in there, Armon Watts. But, I mean, they do have some other guys. Still waiting for Jalen Holmes, to step up. Jaleel Johnson, you know, some weeks very solid, some weeks, you know, we wish you got a little more from him. Mata Afa. I mean, they got a long list of guys that can play in there, but and then Shamar Stephen, of course. I don't know if I mentioned him, but long list of guys that can play. But at the end of the day, you need to get better starter-wise there. Letting Everson Griffin walk, you know, potentially starting Daniil Hunter and Odenigbo. You know, I think the key for those guys to play even better is that, again, that interior pressure, which they were great in 2 years ago, dropped down big time this year. So really that could be the biggest need. And then getting a rotation guy for that DN, Alton Robinson, who I think fits their defense perfectly in the 4-3. What else they need? Like I said, I think they need receiver more than people think. I had them getting Gabriel because they need to focus on some other things early in the draft, but they need a big body receiver. Antonio Gandy Golden from Liberty. Some people have him going earlier in this. I think I wouldn't take him, you know, super early. I think this is about his range more because he is big body. He's got a catch radius. He can run for his size. You know, could track the ball a little better. You know, but I think this is kind of where he'll go. I mean, maybe a little earlier. Then another interior offense lineman for depth. I kind of have a feeling they could go Elflein again. I would like to start Samia. Darrell Williams, another guy that can kind of compete in there. But it's so hard to come across these linemen. Yeah, you would like to get better with the offensive lineman in free agency or even earlier in the draft, which we did Josh Jones, but it's just so tough. And then with the last pick, Jordan Mack, who's one of my deep sleepers in the draft, kind of that utility linebacker you bring in for, blitzes, but he's an off-the-ball linebacker. And the Vikings play with a lot of just two linebackers, Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks, who cover a lot of the field. We saw what Kendricks did last year. So, and then they kind of used Eric Wilson. They kind of missed Ben Gideon, but he's had his injuries. They've used Eric Wilson. Earlier in the year when he came in, he was solid. Towards the end of the year, not so much. But they kind of could use that, extra linebacker that can sub in sometimes, that can do a bit of everything. Range you can get after the quarterback. So a guy like that, Jordan Mack, would be ideal. So very interesting to see what the Vikings do. People talk about corner offensive line, most important need. I think if you solidify the offensive line, then the whole offense will be more consistent, will be better. So you can definitely make the case there. But what people are sleeping on is positions like interior defensive line, but specifically pass rush from the interior and receiver. I think I would be, I'd be thrilled if they can, lock up offensive line, in free agency, which is going to be tough with the limited amount of offensive linemen available and their cap space, and then really take another top-tier receiver early. I would love that because it felt like they were really, really missing, Thielen being out at times too, but it felt like they were really missing another big-time receiver. I mean, you look at the end of the season and in the playoffs, they were trying to use Hollins a bit there. Like, it's not ideal. They do have BB coming back, but really you definitely can get better there. So, in today's NFL with all this offense, I think it's so important to have several receivers that could be on the field and make a huge impact. So we'll see. Very excited for the offseason. In a tough situation out at the cap space, but some cuts that should be obvious but are tough at the same time could get them in a decent situation. It's not as there are other situations worse. So it's not the worst situation to be in, but it'll be tough because it does feel like their window's closing. We can start looking at maybe what they'll do with the quarterback situation. That they could let this year play out, decide if they want to re-sign him, maybe go the younger route, maybe extend him now so they actually free up cap space now. And, it's going to be very interesting. So we'll see. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Please subscribe to both of our channels. You can check out those links in the description in the comments for our Twitter, Instagram, the podcast. So really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for watching. That's going to do it. Goodbye.